DayOneDollarZero, July 5th, just after July 4th. We're a little patriotic today, man. I've got Abe Lincoln with a beer in his hand and some fucking sunglasses. He's ready to go, man. We've got some Jack Daniels on board. Not that they're sponsoring us, but if they did, that'd be cool too.
That's right. I got the non-American whiskey.
Proper
Irish
12
whiskey. I know.
Proper 12, mate.
It's good.
Proper 12.
It's good, man.
That's not where you start. That's where you finish, mate. Fucking, that's Conor McGregor's whiskey. Hey, shout out to him. If he wanted to sponsor, that'd be cool too, motherfucker. He's cool. I like him. Good whiskey too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I like
Dude,
it.
and he's a good way to go on what we're talking about today. We're talking about personal branding.
Ooh.
Has anyone done it better than fucking Conor McGregor, man?
Arguably.
Yeah.
I would say
Probably.
people have done it.
Probably.
A little less reckless.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe a little different. But coming from a guy like me, I'm not going to shame the guy.
Right.
Can't speak to his context. But we're going to get into that, man. It's July 5th. We had a great July 4th. We had some family come over and some chosen family come over, had a grill out and got some food in and had a good time. And as much as we work, it was fun to take some time off. I'll tell you what, dude, before we get into this, I'm really happy with doing holidays like that at home.
Yes.
Versus we used to be that couple, right? Like you go to the fireworks and man, I remember one time we snuck into this. I'm not going to say that. That's incriminating. We were on this property and we were probably 100 feet from where like the mega show was happening. Like they were coming down on top of us. It was pretty cool.
Who was this? You and who else?
I don't want to incriminate them.
Oh.
It was my family.
Nice.
No, we saw it, man, and it was we were about as close as you can get. We were right at the rope, and the spot we were at, I think, was invite only, but we made it in, and some of the people thought we were cool and vouched for us. So we kind of crashed the party, but snuck in. It was really cool, man. But the traffic going in, the traffic going out, when you got kiddos and they're tired, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's good staying at home, man.
We had a good time with it.
Yeah.
So we had some fun. I think I've got the right shirt on. I think Abe Lincoln was. I bet if he was current, he'd be kind of like this, drink a beer and
Think so?
party with everyone. Yeah, man. He was for the people, by the people, from the
I'm
people.
always curious those people if real life today, like he just would have been a dick or something.
I wonder if he'd be buff.
I mean, he did some good things, but you never know.
You don't know.
Yeah,
that's the thing. And I'm not going to talk on it. And and we're going to get into that too, because we're going to get into personal branding today. And I think one of the pieces to it is just staying in your lane, and as you document, just speaking on your experiences and where you have context, because I think once you try to speak on topics that you don't have any experience in or whatnot, it's where you get yourself in trouble.
Yeah,
you're vulnerable.
Yep. And dude, it's okay to say I don't know. Or man, one of the things I've been working on, and
or who gives a fuck? That's the cop out. Nobody cares about that,
dude.
Science.
And then I don't know enough about that topic to have an opinion.
I like your mature answer versus
man.
what do you think on global warming?
Dude.
You know, fuck that.
If more people could learn that
That's
phrase,
fat and I.
more people could learn that
fuck
phrase,
that.
this world would be a better
Look at this,
place.
man. We got ice. See that? You think that came from global warming? No, man. Let's dive into it.
Let's do it.
We pride ourselves on not bullshitting too much and then getting to the point. But it's fun to have a little bit of whiskey, man, and kick back on a Friday when most people are off. And we didn't have a crazy day at all, but we're diving in and getting into this podcast. So subjects for today, man, personal branding, right? And growing pains that come along the way.
Right.
And they kind of come and go, man. It's like they come in phases, and I like it. I like this topic. We're going to credit Eli with the topic today. But I think we've had a lot of messages similar, and we definitely have a lot of questions from people directly when we're in business with them, just around our sphere and people we talk to. This is big. But your credit.
Well, dude, and this is just where I think, really transcending our industry, being real estate at the moment, everything's a personal brand now, man. If you sell cars, if you sell T-shirts, you sell literally anything. Nowadays with social media, man, it all comes down to you as a person and how you're building yourself as a brand. Dude, and even you just as an employee, man, I think, whether you're selling something or not, everyone's got a personal brand.
Kinda.
They do, man. They do.
But I feel like, okay, so let me give you an example, and this might not be the best analogy. In the supplement world, you have companies. I'm not going to name any companies. It's not my place to do that. But you have big companies, okay? And then these big companies make other companies and put other names on them. So imagine this.
White labeling,
imagine if Nike also manufactured and owned Adidas and Reebok and K-Swiss, but you didn't know it.
Right.
Because they're all different brands.
Yep.
But it came from the umbrella.
Yep.
Right? So that's how the industry is with supplements a lot. And that's how they keep themselves relevant, man, because in the supplement world, things kind of have a shelf life. You know, like you're taking someone's stuff and it's badass, but then like you're on to the next, man.
Something
you're on to the
else
next.
comes along.
You little fiend, you little
right.
crackhead.
Yeah.
I'm a crackhead. I'll call you a crackhead. You're on to the next.
Yeah.
So I feel like, bear with me, a lot of personal brands, I'm using these quotation marks, you're just duplicating yourself from someone else that you saw.
Yep.
We're regurgitating someone else's information, or we're regurgitating or repeating someone else's style.
Copy of a copy.
Yeah, because you don't know what else to do. So you're just repeating a lot of what someone else is. Not that I don't enjoy, the Grant Cardones and the Gary V's and the Joe Rogans and sitting here in a fucking podcast, right? Mm-hmm. You got a red velvet curtain behind you, Eli, kind of like his last one. But so there's some things that we like or don't like as far as like how we want to capture stuff. I think what's important is your context, right? Yep. Your truth and speaking to your experiences and not trying to duplicate the gospel, right? Like that's not your place to do that. Mm-hmm. So again, correlating is I feel you've got a lot of these personal brands running around, but they're just regurgitated bigger brands.
Mm-hmm. Well, and here's why I think to an extent, a lot of the information is going to be the same, but the delivery is going to be different as long as you are being who you are. And where I think a lot of people get held up is that, they think, I shouldn't talk about this topic because somebody's already covered it. Here's the thing, though. Some people are going to click with a Grant Cardone. Some people are going to click with the Gary Vee. Some people are just going to click with a you or I. Even if we're all saying the same shit, it's received differently based on who it's coming out of.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But if you're regurgitating what a Grant Cardone says because it's Grant Cardone and you can't speak to the experience,
right?
That's where I have a problem with it.
Well, and
right?
that's
not
also
a problem.
not being...
That's what do you call that? That's aggressive. I don't have a problem with you. Do your thing. But that's where it becomes a little deceitful, right? And where, like, listen, if you're gonna if I'm gonna talk, if we were to talk about a subject that Gary Vee already spoke about, cool. But we're speaking very directly to how it applies to us. And I think that's where the honesty comes in.
Right.
And that's where people decide whether they want to listen to your bullshit or not. And then just not making it fancy. And if you can only go so far with it because that's where you're at, hey, cool, man. There's nothing wrong with that. So, again, when you say, like, everything is personal, I think you're right. I just think there's a lot of pretenders. Like I think you spoke about that last week.
Well, and here's the thing, too. Regardless if you have a product to sell or not, just you as an individual, as a person on social media, you are a personal brand.
Oh, whether you like it or not.
Yes. Every single human.
I like that.
If you're on social media, you are a personal brand, and the shit that you say matters. People are listening to that, and they're building their own, their like preconceived notions of who you are and the things that you do. If you're one of those persons that are people that are always jumping from MLM to MLM to MLM, you're tarnishing your personal brand.
See what whiskey does to you? Makes you a thinker, Eli.
One sip, man.
See that? Last week, we were talking marijuana, and you were in the fucking clouds. Today,
Shut up. I was not in the clouds.
Today, you're in the dirt right where that whiskey came from, boy. Now you're getting down and dirty. I like it. So, I'm going to let you start, man. It's not your topic, but it was your idea based off of some folks having some questions. And just this being a topic of discussion for a while. And you guys see my handy-dandy notebook here. So, let's start with...
handy-dandy notebook. Please reference, yeah.
So, let's start with... Obviously, we've already started. Let's start with... personal branding. One of my big notes that I got on that, I'll let you speak on it.
Yep.
And I can't take credit for me saying this. I'm sure other people have said it, but this is what sticks with me is that you can't. So we're talking in the context of business and growing a personal brand. So if you're a personal brand, as in what Eli just said, the fact that you're on social media makes you a personal brand. But we're going to talk about growing your personal brand for the sake of attention and sales, reputation, whatever it is, but it's still business oriented. We're gonna stay in the theater of business today. So those of you that could give a shit about that, like enjoy listening in our banter, but not necessarily applying to you. So let's stay within that theater. And again, can't take credit for saying, I can't remember who said it. It sticks with me. But biggest thing, you can't outsource a personal brand, right? So when I'll give you a platform here. I'll kind of build it up for you and see what you think. I'll throw you a little alley-oop.
Sure.
That can, so when I'm talking about you can't, or when people talk about you can't outsource a personal brand, what does that mean, right? That means shortcuts of fake followers on social media. That's one of it. It's having someone else write your content, right? Like you give them photos or whatever it may be, but they're writing your content. They're responding to your platform, right? Your attention base, if there is one. You're letting someone else do that in the attempt that you grow quicker.
Right.
And now, I'm not against companies helping your platform grow and grow followers, but it's got to be organic. But there's a big difference between, Fat and I were talking about this the other day, there's a huge difference between bots going out there and liking and unliking and doing all this shit and then throwing out comments to get traction. Even though their attempt is to get real followers to your page, there's bots and just not real things out there doing that for you. Mm-hmm. Versus creating your own content, and then if you have a platform helping you boost your own content to get followers, that's different, right? Mm-hmm. So it's okay, and I want to get that out there, right? Obviously, we're trying to scale ourselves. It's okay to have that, but at what point are we getting lazy, or are we getting a little bit impatient and we want something else to grow? So I think that's what comes to mind for me when we talk about outsourcing a personal brand. Mm-hmm. You've got to be in the weeds when it comes to just what you want to say and what you're about. The face of it, you know what I mean?
Well, and to me, dude, that's one of the most obvious ones. I mean, it's called a personal brand. And then the first thing people try and do is automate that and make it not personal.
You know what?
It's called personal brand.
When you say that, personal brand, it reminds me of a Cat Williams. I wish we could cut this in, Fat, but I know we can't. Reminds me of a Cat Williams stand-up one time when he was like, talking about girls, like, you messing up my self-esteem. And he's like, it's called self-esteem, bitch. That means your motherfucking self. Like,
that's hilarious.
The way you said it, bro.
That's exactly it. That's exactly. It's called a personal brand
for a reason.
Yeah. And again, like, kind of like we talked about last week, how we talked about, if you're taking shortcuts, a lot of times you can win in the short term, but you're always going to lose in the long term. It's kind of the same thing with the personal brand and trying to outsource it. Like, sure, you may get a slight boost in followers if you have bots out there liking and unliking pages and commenting on your behalf. You might, you'll get some more followers in the short term, but those fucking followers are going to get to your page. They're going to see your content over the next 3 months. They're going to see you're full of shit, and they're going to unsubscribe, and you're going to lose them
in the long run.
Yeah. Yep.
The other day I was, sitting on the patio, my computer was 100%. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm going to go from 100% to damn near 0%, right? Mm-hmm. And for those of you that are watching right now, appreciate the love and the respect and the support to the podcast. And if you're watching right now, I'm sure a lot of you got messages from me. There were personal messages that I sent out that said, hey, Schmuckatelli, Joe Schmuckatelli, appreciate the like and support on our Facebook podcast page, DayOneDollarZero. I'd go to their page, just see what they were up to, what they were all about, what they were into, and I would mention something. And I would mention something specific about their page on purpose so they knew that, one, not only was it me, but it was not copy and pasted. Like, I actually had enough context in there where, like, you knew it would take longer to copy and paste and erase 3 sentences to put another 3 sentences back in about someone else and figure out if it's grammatically correct. It's a lot faster to just do it the way I was doing it. And a lot of people appreciated that. And I also said, hey, if there's ever topics that you guys want discussed, hey, man, I'm all for it. Let us know. We're loving that. We're at a local level right now. I'm sure there's a couple people out of state, chatting with a couple folks from like Arizona, a couple there. But biggest thing as we grow early on is just appreciating the support. And when you appreciate the support, letting people know, hey, this is really me messaging you.
Right.
Hey, saw this on your page. Saw you just had a kiddo. Phenomenal. Like, what's his name? And really trying to interact. And man, those messages took forever the other night. Mm-hmm. And then when people start replying, you want to reply.
Fuck.
So then you're right. But then so you're getting lost in like where you're at on that list. And I'm sure I've missed a couple people, but the efforts there as far as like just being patient with this, right? So, and just letting people know that you're thankful and you're supportive. And that's our personal brand. And, like the first, so it was our episode 3. We had 61 people watching when we were live. Mm-hmm. And then within a couple of days, that episode 4 had 373 people that had come and gone during the live. So they didn't stay the whole time, right? Well, maybe some of them did, but not all of them. But, during that live session, people that were coming and going was 373 compared to 61. Well, that's all the grunt work, man. That's all getting in there. And just being fucking thankful and letting them know it's a podcast. Sometimes if you got some friends that vouch for you, right? You invite them to like a page, they just click like. They click on their alert, they click like, yeah, cool. Will's a cool guy, motherfucker, right? Wham, like. But that's not exactly what I want. Not that I'm not grateful for the like. But what I'd like is go on there when you get time, take a listen to the podcast, see what you think, and shit, if you dislike it, I'd rather take no like than a like that's just not necessarily real. And right. When I was in that message, when I was putting, not just thank you for the support, but thank you for the support for our Facebook podcast page. DayOneDollarZero, and I got a couple of my bros here like, oh shit, bro. I didn't know you had a podcast down there. Like, I'll take a look. I'm like, yeah, fucker. Like, appreciate the like, but make sure, hey, we're friends, but make sure I'm doing something that, like, dude, I'm weird. When somebody invites me to like something, I check it out.
Right.
I'm like,
that's what skepticism we were talking about.
Now listen, I don't expect you to call me and pitch me your business model, but and maybe I don't know you personally, but you're on my Facebook friends and whatever. But cool, man. But I still want to dive in and see how well you've prepared something before you just go asking people to like it. And if I go there and there's no photos, there's no content, I'm just like, man, I wish you'd have a little bit more respect for your fan base that wants to like it. Put some things up and put some content. So some of my bros, I've met in person. Some are just Facebook friends, but just bros, man. And they're like, oh shit, bro, let's take a look at it. And they did. And some of them wrote back and like, yeah, man, you should cover this. And it was cool. But so the personal branding side is like, dude, it's Barney style. Purple dinosaur. We used to say in the Marine Corps all the time. Break this shit down Barney style. 3-year-old, as simple as you can. Break things down. So just by saying, thanks for liking my Facebook podcast page, right? It's letting people know. So when you're building your personal brand, even though it's you, who are you and what are you doing? I think that's your dude. That's about as simplistic as you can put it. Because as that personal brand grows and you want people to know what you're all about and certain things like that, you've got to let them know what you're diving into.
And that's that basic storytelling. Who, what, when, where, why.
Where'd you get that?
I know. I got that from Will. Well,
but I got that from
I got it from like fifth grade or something. But
I know. We're
homeschooled. Give me a reminder.
Shout out to Miss Schmidt.
2 years.
What's up?
Yeah.
I like that. No, it's true. And sometimes we forget to be brilliant at the basics. When we start something new, we just forget 5-paragraph order and certain things, that apply.
Well, let's talk about, being who you are on your personal brand, before scaling it, because I think that's one of the biggest things that you and I, dude, a lot of people, for you and I, it's impossible for us to not be ourselves. For a lot of other people out there, that's what they're going to struggle the most with. And I think a lot of it comes from fear of judgment, or they just don't know who they actually are, or a combination of the two. And that's something that I've had to get a lot better at, because there are certain words that I use in day-to-day life and certain things that I do in day-to-day life that really are me. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, man, when I was putting content out, not that you go out of your way to like expose things about yourself. You can have, certain private things, but if something's you got to let people know.
I saved you.
You definitely helped me up. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Here's the deal. I got a couple things on that, but here, let's break it down like relationship style, right? Like not that girls don't pursue a guy, or guys are always supposed to pursue girls. I don't know. Not going to dive into that. I'm a guy, so I'm going to talk from a guy's perspective. A guy likes a girl, right? You've got to be yourself, because if you're trying to be someone you're not, you're guessing. And when you're guessing, and then she ends up liking something, you're like, oh, holy shit, she likes that. But how do you be consistent with it? And how do you be natural with it? And okay, like you fit, like even something basic, like you pretending you like football, right? No disrespect. You don't like football. Dude, I get it, dude.
I can't. Yeah.
Right. But let's say you did.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, Megan, what's up? We love you. This is hypothetical. No, fuck that. We'll use your wife.
Yeah.
You're just meeting your wife, right? And as you're getting to know her, she's a football fan, and you pretend to be a football fan, right? Because like, hey, she likes, I like football too, right? Yeah. Like, and how natural is that going to come off? And then great, oh, you like it, great. Like, who's your favorite player? Fuck. Yeah. Or hey, let's go to a game. Have you ever been? And then like, you don't even know what fourth down is or what they're trying to do on the field, and before you know it, you're like yelling out for a holding penalty, and it's like, no, he had the ball. That's called a tackle, right? And you look like a fucking idiot. That's hard, and it's hard to maintain. Right. And sometimes if we don't have any self-identity, and you're still trying to figure out who you are, I don't want to call you a faker. You're not. But you should be a little bit more true to yourself as far as trying to figure those things out. And I think where it becomes hard is where you have to get consistent and hold that. So for me, look, man, there's just no room to not be yourself, because I can't tiptoe around as a father or in business or anything else and just not be me. But what I like about it is it's me. And if you like me, if you fuck with me, like, cool, because now we're going to have a lot of fun with business. You know who you're working with and what you're getting yourself into. And we're going to get to that. Yeah. We're going to get to social media and being yourself and why that's important and why we have such a great time with our clients. Mm-hmm. But people know who you are. But backing up a little bit, because I don't want to miss these. And I'm looking at my notes here. I think consistency and I think your word matter. So if you're that person that's always starting a new business, always you're MLM, and then you're this, and then you're that, whatever it may be. And I'm not beating up MLM. I'm not even against it. But you're, some problems with MLM and some problems with what we do in real estate and other businesses is, people don't make up their fucking minds.
Right.
And they're bouncing back and forth, and they're not consistent with anything. So my biggest thing is, if you want to build a personal brand, figure out if you like it first and foremost. Like, is this you? Are you comfortable in your own skin, and do you know who you are in this industry, whatever that industry may be? Secondly, are you successful at it? Do you have something to say, or do you have something to document about it, right? And thirdly, are you being consistent with it to the point where you can hold up your end of the bargain? Because for me, likes on Facebook are a big deal. I'd rather have 500 real likes than a bunch of people who are just liking my page but didn't know what it was, or I paid someone to get more likes. I would much rather have 500 likes, but the majority of them are interacting on our page and they're liking and absorbing content. But my word matters, which means we didn't even create this page until a year and a half in. Mm-hmm. Like, this is just now blooming, right? And we're a year and a half in, and we've got a good model, right? And we're successful at it, and we've had enough successes within what we're doing, where we can talk about it, we can speak to it. And I've done enough with the Marine Corps and the law enforcement and the government things and how that applies to civilian life, corporate America, how it all applies, and we've had enough success with that. I've integrated myself with a civilian business partner. We've had enough there where I feel like I can respectably ask someone to not only like my page, but to listen to what I have to say, because I think it might help you.
Right.
But those are your, that's my word. And secondly, if you like what I have to say now, great. But now, am I responsible enough to keep this consistent? So there's consistent content. Mm-hmm. So when you get somebody's like, or you get someone's attention, you're not going to be 2 videos into this damn thing, and then you're going to be done. So I think that's where it has to start 2 minutes. It's got to start with yourself, and you don't have to be so quick to broadcast it and jump on board or jump on some bandwagon. And before you know it, maybe you do like the industry, but you hate the company.
Yeah.
Or maybe you do like the industry, but you hate the, I love MLM and I think I can do well at it, but I don't like this company. You get what I'm saying.
Here's one of the issues, man, is particularly with real estate, particularly with MLM, and that's why we're talking about these two, because these two are some of the worst, I think, in the sense that people sell you this fucking pipe dream that they know isn't true, but you have that in the back of your head, like, maybe this is it, dude. And when there's that low barrier of entry and high potential for reward, and you go to the MLM thing or you talk to the real estate agent who's making a lot of money, people think like, oh, I can do that too. And then when nothing happens their first year and they realize, shit, this is an actual business, this is going to take a lot of time, then they quit. Someone else sells them another pipe dream and they jump to that and they jump to that. So being realistic in as far as your expectations of what it's actually going to take to run a business, because MLM, real estate, whatever you're in, it's a real business and you have to treat it like a real business, and it's not easy, man.
And this is where social media gets dangerous, because look, whether you put a year and a half or 10 years into something and you need your integrity, like myself, to feel good about what you're doing, or whether you have an idea and you're 5 minutes into it and you put a cover photo up and a profile photo up and then ask all your friends to like it, there's no difference. The action of inviting friends to like a page is no different. But again, man, it's the integrity behind what you're doing, and just know. And look, you owe it to yourself. If you're going to start a new endeavor, you owe it to yourself that before you start sacrificing your word and vouching for a company, vouching for an industry, vouching for yourself that you're successful within a company, within an industry, that you take that time. And it takes so much pressure off of you versus trying to figure out, like, whether you like a company and whether you like an industry and who you are within that company, within that industry, and you got to remember what to post on social media.
Mm-hmm.
One, that's why documenting is so important when you do get to that point. But secondly, the expectations that you're submitting yourself to against the odds.
Right.
And man, you don't ever want to come off like you're faking the funk because you're in the middle of figuring it out. And people are like, well, look at this dipshit, right? Mm-hmm. But really, you're not a dipshit. You're in that phase of, who am I in this whole world when it comes to whatever industry you're in or whatever company that you're supporting? Like, what is all about this? Or like influencers. That's a big thing on like social media, and you want to be a First Form or other big companies influencer. Hey, make sure you like the product,
right?
Because cat's out of the bag. We know there's sponsored, photos or videos, and hey, guess what? That's okay. I don't think anybody ever cares if you're sponsored and you make money by posting stuff on social media. I think what people care about is being a liar. So if you put the time into just meeting the owners or just meeting some of the people of the company or doing your history, like go look at Reddit and look for complaints or wherever those are at, right? Look for complaints and look for history and try their products for a couple months. And if you dig it beyond the dollar, now on your social media, you still got to be super genuine. Your word still means something because you say, hey, I've tried this company for 6 months. We've been talking back and forth, but I wanted to make sure. Jack Daniels, listen, I've been talking to him for 6 months, right? And I drank it my whole life, and I love them, right? But I would still want to make sure that they treat people right and that their infrastructure is good, or it's at least what I expect it to be.
Where do you think that comes from in you, man? Because most people don't have that
goddamn Marine Corps, bro.
But also, I know a lot of Marines that also don't have that. Like, it's part of that, but also,
a lot of Marines? Who? Are you cheating on me?
A handful.
You're
a handful.
You're what a jerk. You hit his fat.
But dude, and just from anybody, like, you're one of the few people that their word actually means something. And people will say it does, but their actions don't back it up. It's one of those things that sounds good to say, but then actions are different.
Yeah, man. I was a leader. We're not going to get into deployments and other stuff, and that stuff doesn't matter. But long story short, I was a leader early on in the Marine Corps, and you're learning and leading at the same time. But the bottom line was, if you were telling command staff you would get something done and you're not getting it done, you're training for super extreme circumstances. So, if you say that you're going to do something and then, it's late at night and you decide to go to bed instead of getting it done the next day, you're not prepared, they're going to say, hey, listen, man, I get it. You're learning and you're leading at the same time. And there is not enough time in the day, and you still need a couple of hours sleep to function. But here's the deal. You didn't get it done. And if we were in a combat situation and you failed to prepare, guys die. Mm-hmm. So it was just cut and dry. It was like, look, man, do you want to put yourself, or even worse, do you want to put other Marines in harm's way because you weren't prepared? Because look, when you're training and you're preparing for the worst, one thing that's very clear, man, is like, you want to be able to sleep at night to know, like, that your training and your mindset is exactly where it needs to be if for some reason you're put in that situation, period. You don't ever want to go home at night and just wonder, right? Or you don't ever want to go to bed at night, wherever you're at, wherever you're deployed, and just wonder, like, if I did all I could do. Some things are out of your control. A lot of things aren't. And if you're not doing all you can do, you're going to put someone else in harm's way because of it. Like, you got to look, man, you can let yourself down all day, right? You got to be a sorry motherfucker to let other guys down when they're expecting you to do your part. So that's there, man. And look, here's the deal. I think all of us can relate to this. I've had friends or, family or wherever, no one's specific. I've had people say they're going to do something and not.
A lot of people do.
How does it make you feel? So instead of allowing that to be acceptable because everyone else does it, just remember how that feels. And, and you got to remember, like, no matter how little it may be, if you start letting that become acceptable at a small level, what are you going to do at a large level?
That's where I've been catching it a lot. And a good example I think a lot of us can relate to. If you tell someone, like you said, small level, hey, man, I'll email that to you today. Fuck, you better. I've literally, like, gotten out of bed at 11:45 at night because I've let something slip. I'm like, damn, I told that guy I'd send it to him tonight. I know he's in bed, but I also know if he wakes up at 7 a.m. and he sees that email isn't there, I told him I was going to get back to him today. Even if I get it there at 11:59 p.m. that same day, I'm fucking getting out of bed and I'm sending that email just so when he gets up in the morning, he sees 11:59 p.m. Oh, shit, he did it.
Even worse, when that guy doesn't care. Like, hey, yeah, man, get to me by today. Cool. If not, cool. That's what kind of opens that door of like letting it slip and you go to bed. But now as things gradually become more like you have other circumstances in life that are slightly more serious, you've created a habit and you expect yourself to just like turn this switch on and just be ready to go. No, man. You know, and that's a lot. That's very, you know, very, very, very true in the police world too, man, of just having your routines and making sure that you're mentally prepared for everything on the street. You know, and in some aspects, being an officer, man, that's one of the hardest jobs on the planet, right? And I always support those guys. And this is not a political rant of saying that every cop is a good cop. I'm not getting into that bullshit, right? But I feel like way more times than not, them guys got good hearts and their intentions are in the right place. And if something goes wrong, we've got 2 years to go look at it in court versus the split second he had a chance to make a decision, and we're going to question where the intent came from. And I get it. However, let's get back to just the, not the sticky side, but just the not the logistics, but just the nature of the job. You got to be prepared to maybe help an old lady with some groceries getting into her house because she fell, but she's okay, and you're super nice and calm with her, and you're getting her in this, and then from there you go to some shooting, right? And guys are shooting at each other at the Do-Rahs in Aurora in the you don't even like, it's not that you don't care about the gangsters shooting at each other, but you're super worried about the non-gangsters in public that can get hurt by them, right? Because of just fire going everywhere. And then you go from that to maybe a verbal domestic, right? And people just arguing, but it was, the neighbors were too loud, or the neighbors thought you were too loud, so now we respond. And they're good people, and they work every day. They're just stressed, and they're getting at each other a little bit, and you're trying to sympathize with their situation. And you go from that to a fire, or maybe somebody dies in that fire. Maybe it's a kid. Maybe a kid dies in a fire, right? And then you go from that to a fender bender where no one's hurt, but they're acting like it's the end of the world. And you have to take every ounce of patience within you to not smack the fuck out of somebody, to go, hey, man, are you seriously this mad about this? And by the way, you're the one at fault. So that's a real story. That conglomeration of calls is an example of some calls that I've been on in just one night. And where it's hard, man, is it's up and down. And you've got to be one person for one situation, and you've got to be another for another situation. And it's up and down, and you can get super complacent. But here's the deal. If you allow your values to be hindered, right, to slip, when they count, when you come onto another call that's a lot more serious, and you've allowed your habits or you've allowed yourself to be more complacent, that's a problem. And here's why. Because sometimes you go to the non-emergent call that turns into an officer-involved shooting. It's not like we know, what I mean? Like a traffic stop turns into, like just, hey, a routine traffic stop, but you don't know an armed felon's in the car, and he thinks you saw him get in the car, so he thinks you're pulling him over for him. Right. When really you just saw expired tags for the driver. And now you're going up to a routine traffic stop, and that felon pulls trigger on you. So being complacent, even on like the low risk, quote unquote, low risk calls, can turn out to be the most high risk situations of your life, and you might be trying to survive, right? And that's serious. So maybe it's just from experiences from that stuff in the Marine Corps and being a leader and being responsible for so many people, and then being that officer where you don't ever want to become complacent. And just because it's a non or low risk call per se, right, doesn't mean that something's not going to unfold right in front of you. And if you're complacent and you've allowed some of those things to slide into your brain, and you've allowed yourself to mentally slack a bit, it costs you in your life. So now here's the deal. We're in real estate. Nobody's dying due to real estate, right? Like, not to laugh. That's fucked up. Not to laugh, but
it's true though.
But what I try to do is I still try to approach my friendships and my family, and I try to approach our accountability with our team, and I try to approach the way we help our clients with the same amount of seriousness, as in, no one's dying. But does that mean like I hinder and I get complacent, or I slack on contracts, or I slack on my word because I'm in a safer environment now? No, man. I think that's something that I bring to the table that makes me a little bit more unique. Where it gets risky is not everybody has those experiences. Right. So when we're training our team or everything else, like there's a super sensitive way you have to go to trying to open their minds to that type of perspective versus motherfucking them up and down, even if you're right, because like, oh, hey, so, in my world, someone could have died. Like, look, dude, there's no place for that here because they can't relate to it. And if they can't relate to you, then they can't hear you.
Well, and where I think it's good is when you just are that. And then when people can witness that, and then they can see in their own mind, okay, damn, like Will really does pay attention to the little details, and he's as critical as the little details as the big details. Now they're more receptive just as an observer, like, how can I apply that to my life? And that's when it becomes contagious. Like, just
Correct.
you and I, like, you don't, like, in our past, you've commented about things, but you've kind of allowed me to witness and observe. And then naturally, I think I start emulating some of those behaviors.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, I want to go talk to the world.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. And you're like, hey, homie, I appreciate your little commando world. Here's the deal, toy soldier. They don't give a fuck what you got to say because they're lenders to a different company. And look, man, you can go talk to all 20 of them. But listen, they just don't care. And is it going to resonate, or are you really spending your time where it's in your life? And I'm like, man, yeah, dude, maybe I need to smoke a little weed and chill out or not think. Well, but it's true. Like, you got to be very careful with your passion or your inspiration, or even if someone messes up, you got to realize, like, okay, here's the deal. Do I put the effort there, or can I just keep within a different direction where we've had more success and stay there and then triple down where we're having success versus trying to talk an ideology into people that just don't get it? Like, hey, man, maybe they just don't care that much about their job. Maybe, like the last podcast when I said, why do you got to figure out who you are? Like, how about just knowing who you aren't? Like, if you go to work one more time and see that cubicle, you're going to lose your shit. They might be that person at that lending company in that cubicle going,
just don't care.
Dude, I don't give a shit about any of this. I appreciate you coming in here and talking all your morals to me there, toy soldier, but I just don't care. Now, does that make it okay? No, but it does allow you to go, okay, noted. Maybe they're not receptive to what I'm saying and there isn't potential to get better. Maybe you can gear your efforts where they do matter. That's where you've rubbed off on me, right? That sounds terrible, right? Like, Eli did not rub me off. He didn't smoke my skin wagon.
Jesus.
Right? Jesus.
We did go to San Francisco together.
We did.
No one knows what happened out there.
At all. Yeah. I like that. You want me to drink your whiskey for you?
Yeah, well, cheers to that.
I know what happened.
Yeah, you do. You were there. You were right in the middle of it. Pun intended.
But, dude, I think it's...
But you get what I'm saying, right? And just to rewind this a little bit, I think all of those values that we're talking about, all these stories that I'm talking about or examples I'm talking about, that all boils down to who you are as a person, where your integrity lies, and have you given yourself enough time to really dial in and get some traction, some success, some flow to what you're doing before you go off into trying to ask people for their support, knowing you might not have that.
And that's like prime definition of personal brand, man, because people know who you are on the podcast and the things that you talk about are also who you are in real life and the things that you apply in real life. And there are no characters, man. It's not like the camera turns on or the microphones turn on and you're somebody else. The shit you do every single day is this person that people are seeing here.
And selfishly, we talked about this, but we've got a networking group that we own, in our team. And, selfishly, because I was in leadership for so long at such a young age, I use leadership as my form of accountability to an extent. Mm-hmm. Like, it keeps me going. Like, the motivation of knowing people are literally looking at me for advice, for guidance, for let me see if he does what he does or what he wants me to do. That keeps me accountable. I almost need that. Not that I would let myself down if I didn't have a company with you or anything like that. I would still do my thing because I've got a family looking at me. But, man, it does help. So it in some shape or form, it is a little selfish that I can get that from being a leader. However, where the integrity lies is just making sure that if you're going to take people's time or take people's trust to build that, then you better know what you're doing, at least with what you're talking to them about doing.
Right.
100%.
And living it, dude. And living it. And that's where it's like, that's personal branding to a T, man. And people think personal brand is this character that you are on social media. Mm-hmm. They think it's your Instagram post that you put up, it's your face. Nope. It is everything that you do and say in real life, on the internet, things that you write down, the emails that you send to people, just the basic business-to-business shit that people do every day, even as an employee, even as a husband or wife or son or daughter or whatever. The things that you do matter, man, and people pay attention.
100%. And that's why, leading back to that to the originality of this was, you got to be yourself, man.
Yep.
There's just too many layers to try to pretend to be something different, right? So I think we're good on that one. Moving forward, so the start of personal brand, right? very start. Whatever you're diving into, cool. Take that thought, dive into it. Maybe you switch companies 2 or 3 or 4 times, or maybe you dive into some things a couple of different times and it's a different industry, but it's still entrepreneurship. Whatever it may be, whatever you're diving into, to whatever company or whatever industry and or both, give yourself enough respect, give your audience, give your friends and family, give your sphere, give it enough respect to dive into that and just see how, who am I in this industry or company and where do I stand with all of it? Am I successful? And have I done enough to create some content to keep consistent if that's what I'm going to do? Right? And dude, it's got to start there. And I think, so my thing is, I think people might start a little bit too quick. Like they're super eager and they're super motivated, but listen, 90 days in, you're feeling it, right? And that's a fucking problem. And now you're a little desperate or you're running out of content because, man, you don't want to do this, but you've already had so many people follow you. They're proud of you. They're supporting you. And oh my God, you're so great at this. But really, yep, you're great at it, but you hate it.
Or you've had nobody. You love what you're doing, but nobody's listening, nobody's watching, and you're like, fuck, should I keep going at this? Or do people hate me?
3 months, I think you should. We'll get into that too. Yeah. So I've got a couple more notes for you to keep us on track. We're still new at this.
Okay, what you got?
Grab this mic. Oh, I should have wear a Macho Man shirt. I know how you get more American than that fucking guy? Apple pie, wrestling, and steroids. How do you get?
And some Bud Light like we got here too.
No, man, we're not. I'm talking about Macho Man, not us, dude.
You don't think he drinks a Bud Light?
Yeah, but I was talking about steroids and apple pie, bro. Let's see here. So you can't outsource a personal brand. Being you. And then my third point was staying within your scope. So this is huge. So I talk a lot. Yep. But on this podcast or anywhere that we're talking, I really try to just, instead of like talking about a lot of different things, I try to really go into the depth. I try to go really deep and consistent within the scope that I think I'm familiar with. And that's leadership / mentorship, however you want to label it, right? That's, some of our business stuff when it comes to real estate and things like that and family. And even when I'm diving in, I'm, going deep per se, right? Ever since you said you rubbed me off, now I'm like, going deep. Sounds weird to me. You threw me off now. Glad I gave you whiskey. I try to still speak to it. So even if it's a topic I can speak on, like, ooh, leadership. Okay, I think that's my shit. Okay. That still doesn't mean that you can just go off the deep end. When I'm talking, okay, leadership, that's a home run for me. Cool, right? That's I could talk that in my sleep. Yep. But the key there, even when it is your wheelhouse, is you still got to keep it within the scope of your experience, right? Because there's a ton of different types of leadership, and you can have an opinion. And if somebody would ask me a question, I'd say, well, here's my opinion. However, I can't speak directly to it because I've never tried that style. It's never been my style. It's never been me. Or, hey, listen, I've never been in that industry. So, maybe what I think works for me maybe wouldn't work in a certain industry. I don't know. So but the point is, even when it's your wheelhouse. So first thing is stay within your scope. If you get out of your scope of what you think of what you've been proven to be good at, right? Whether father, making cookies, whatever you want to do, you got to stay within that scope or you become vulnerable. If you start, dude, you're not going to hear me talk about labor.
Right.
I can talk about what it was like being a daddy at labor, but I can't just go talking about that. And that's where you get vulnerable and people realize you're full of shit. So first things first is staying within your scope. Secondly, even when you're within your scope, your wheelhouse, your fastball right down the middle of the plate, that's a baseball term, right? Eli, not for the audience, for Eli. You still got to keep it from your perspective. You can't, you know what I mean? So if I'm talking about leadership from the Marine Corps, and dude, there's different leaders than me in the Marine Corps.
Right.
And I guarantee you there's some really awesome squad leaders, scout sniper team leaders, recon leaders that were different than me, and they were fucking successful. So at some point, you got to go
there's other ways.
Well,
right.
There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. Not that I skin cats. That's also a term. Full disclosure. Right? But there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. And look, man, what works for someone, if it works, look, dude, the data doesn't lie, correct? So at some point, you got to hey, even though this is my wheelhouse, this is all I can only speak to my perspective of it and how I decide to approach it. And if someone asks you something, other ways aren't necessarily wrong. It's hey, man, what you're thinking isn't necessarily wrong. However, how for me and my experience and how I choose to do things, I approach it this way. Does that make sense?
And I think that's good too, to keep you on track, man. When you understand that There are multiple ways to do things. A, I think that keeps you humble, but B, it keeps you from getting distracted, because if you see somebody else being successful in your field, doing something differently, it prevents you from trying to do it the way they're doing it, which isn't you. And you probably wouldn't be successful at it if you tried to do it their way.
You can't.
Right.
It's not you.
Right.
And some people are super successful their way. You got to see me on camera. I'm reaching for you.
A little more. There you go.
It's fucking
you
sick.
Finished that glass. I can't believe that. Good
yeah,
job.
I'm Irish, bro.
Good job.
It's in my blood. I'm Irish.
We don't drink a lot. We don't drink a lot at all.
No, but I'm Marine.
How much you drink? Like 2 drinks a month or something?
I'm Marine and Irish.
You drink what? Yeah.
It's like riding a bike.
Yeah. How often you drink?
Only when I smoke.
Only.
It's a country song. I don't know, man. Maybe 2 beers a month, maybe.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I go 3 or 4 months without a beer.
That's about exactly me.
We get so busy. I'm trying to just get my damn water intake.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm on a cut phase right now. If you guys can tell, I'm cutting down. I'm cutting down. So
that for sure.
A little bit, man.
Yeah.
But it is nice to have it, you know, on a Friday or whatever it is. So I do try to keep it a little bit more moderate for goals. And you know, by the time we get home, helping with kiddos and stuff like that, you're out before you know it.
Right.
You know, but getting back anyway, I appreciate that. And getting back to that point, I think just it keeps you honest, you know, like, and if you have any integrity as a leader, and this is not a leadership podcast, I get it. We're talking about personal brand, but if your personal brand is selling anything or getting people to follow you in any shape or form, it goes back to integrity. Like, do you want people listening to you if you can't speak to it? And if you are speaking to it, like, just because you articulate well, like, and it sounds like you know what you're talking about, are you doing anyone any justice? I have a hard time with that, because people are trusting what you say. And then what happens if they're trying what you're talking about and it's not working, man? And they're not that they should be reliant upon your opinion. They shouldn't, but they are sometimes. So where does your integrity lie as far as, like, you know, are you feeding them bullshit, and are you okay with that? The Sociopath Next Door. It's a good book. Talks about 1 in 20 people being sociopaths. Dang. And even when they're doing good deeds, like, why?
Yeah.
That book, if you guys haven't read that book, you will question everybody's shit in your neighborhood. But it's true. You know, like, if you're having anybody follow you for any shape or form, or you're giving any form of advice, just please have some integrity behind what you're talking about. That way you can, you know, if it doesn't work out for them, that's okay, but just stay in your scope. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good.
So we're growing a personal brand. People are starting to listen a little bit.
You're going to go right into growing pains, aren't you?
Shit starts getting real.
It's going to hurt a little.
And then things start hurting a little bit.
And that bill goes on.
Expenses pop up. Things don't work.
Bills.
Clients leave. You get negative feedback from a podcast that you did or something. You start doubting yourself. Hasn't yet, but
okay. I appreciate you just throwing that negative energy out there. Coming from the hippie, Fatty's just throwing out a bunch of negative shit today, huh?
But
happy 4th of July, bro.
But
right here in front of Lincoln, just saying negative shit. Imagine his life.
Needless to say, negative things happen.
Listen, I have a hard time with the word negative.
Yeah,
I really do. Is it negative?
Mm-mm.
Because are you sure? Now, don't change who you are now.
No.
Don't go changing who you are, because you said negative like 6 times. Hey, negative things happen. Hold on a minute.
I just don't think I'm okay calling it negative because
okay. I got that.
Because I know it's not a bad thing. You
I
know what
like
I mean?
obstacles.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it. Negative to me just sounds bad. Negative means to me, negative just sounds like there's just nothing good that comes from it, and it's just negative. It's just, you know, like I don't know, man. Somebody egging my house.
Here's
like what am I gonna pull from that? Somebody's like, fuck that Lincoln shirt, right? Like, should have worn an Obama shirt. I don't know. I'm being stupid. Right?
Yeah.
Lincoln's he's awesome, right? Yep. Back in the day.
Yep.
I feel like I know the guy. What if somebody egged my house? Negative. Okay. Here's why. Yeah, I'm gonna clean my house. I don't know who did it. Like, what's the positive? Oh, well, now your house is clean. It was clean before, asshole.
Right.
So for me, I have a hard time. Now, here's the deal. I'm not a huge Tony Robbins fan. I think he's cool because he cusses at his conventions, and he's a little bit more human versus when you see him online. But he has a really cool tool, a little bit mentally. I'm sure he has a ton of cool tools. I just don't know him that well. But when he talks about like that 90-second rule, like if something happens and it angers you or creates like an emotion in you, and especially a negative one, and if you're diving into that thing for over 90 seconds and there's nothing good you can take away from it, let it go. So I feel like negative is like I wake up, right, and my fucking house is egged. The only thing that might be able to come from that is like it was super hot that morning and like what, I got scrambled eggs all over my house and I can eat while I clean. No, I still don't want to do that. Or, well, this creates an opportunity to clean the outside of your house. Dude, my house was clean before.
I call that some bullshit.
Okay, that's negative.
I call that some bullshit. You know what's another word
See,
similar
now
to that?
Now he's being a one-upper. Like, he's just got to be different than me, huh?
But
Asshole.
a similar word is failure. Like failure, people perceive as negative. I don't see failure as negative at all.
Now, okay, we're going to get to that. But again, just for my perception, I just think negative is like something that's like, like there's just nothing you can take from it. But growing pains, when growing a personal brand or a business, that's not, to me, that's not negative. That's, there's some obstacles, but those obstacles teach a lesson, create opportunity, right? Like, so it's really hard for me to call it negative.
Dude, I'm going to relate this to fitness. And I knew it was going here. So with fitness, dude, I think I learned so much about business and life just from the gym, man, because learning that the body is an adaptive machine. If you're not creating outside stressors that are intense enough to cause a stress response from your body, you're not going to grow muscle. You're not going to lose fat. You're not going to get bigger and faster and stronger. It's not going to happen. If things aren't uncomfortable enough, there's no reason for your body to change. To me, that is just a super simple crossover to business, man. It's just about growing outside of your comfort zone. And yeah, you're temporarily outside of your comfort zone, but it's going to make you meet new people, get new resources, get more creative about the way you go about doing things. And then that's going to be your comfort zone.
I appreciate you saying that, because that furthers my point that you should not say negative right now.
But it's all perception. I just don't perceive it as negative. I just don't perceive it as negative.
You still perceive it as negative?
No, I don't. I don't perceive negative as negative.
Okay, well, you were saying negative earlier. Yeah. Like, oh, dude, negative stuff just happens.
I don't perceive negative as bullshit, I'll say.
Yeah, see, now you're just making shit up. Well, dude, that's what I love about friendship. Here's the deal. He doesn't even give a fuck that much about these two different phrases. He just gives a fuck about me not convincing him.
Well, I had this coach one time. I wasn't signed up for anything. It was just a coach I was talking to.
I remember my first beer.
And I mentioned failure. I was like, yeah,
we're not talking failure. We're talking negative.
Well, hold on.
Negative. It's not negative.
But same thing. And she's like, don't use the word failure. It's not a failure. That's not. And I'm like,
okay.
I don't fucking perceive it as bad thing. I'll use the word failure because my perception of it is
like when I call myself fat. You're like, bro, you're not fat. Like, look, dude, I don't care when I say it to myself because it's not like it's not destructive to me.
You don't put that like power behind it.
Nah, dude, I got huge and now I'm cutting down and lean out and be all super sexy for no one.
Huge.
Right? For you.
Huge.
Okay. So let's keep going with that.
Yeah.
As you're growing that personal brand.
Growing pains.
Yeah, so growing pains. So staying within our lane or within your lane, like what are some growing pains other than me? I'm a little hard to swallow that you can remember. And man, just, either early on from us starting a career or just early on when you were doing your entrepreneurship prior to me, what were some of the growing pains?
Yep. Dude, personal training. So in my mind, I've always been like, I always wanted to go next level. I can never stay stagnant. I'm constantly wanting to move and grow. So with personal training, when I started off working at 24-Hour Fitness, obviously income wasn't the greatest. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, let me just build up a full-time clientele, then I'll be happy. So I built up a full-time clientele, still wasn't making shit, still wasn't happy. So I'm like, okay, now I need to go private. So I went private. Still wasn't happy with what I was making. So I kept climbing my own ladder that I was making for myself. And then eventually ended up at it. But each time I got to that level, it felt negative or felt like some bullshit because like, fuck, I got here and I'm still struggling every month,
Like
so
what do you mean? Like when you're going through that thought process, like you're struggling every month with what?
Yeah.
What are you struggling with?
When you're like, okay, once I get, once I'm hitting 10 sessions a day, then I'll feel like this. And then you get 10 sessions a day and you don't feel that way you expected.
So what's the growing pain behind it? Is that?
It's not feeling satisfied when you're getting to a certain point that you're at. And then all the struggles that come with that, because now you're working 10 sessions a day, so you're not seeing your family, you're not out socializing with friends.
So you're not broke anymore. You got a little bit of cash flow coming in, but then you're like, oh shit, I got to work all the time.
But with that come increased expenses, and then you're like, fuck, I'm still in the same place.
Personal training hurts me. Traditional personal training, because I feel like it's a matter of math. You got to run the sessions, right? People are there for you, right? So there's only so many hours in the day, which means there's only so many sessions you can do.
You can only scale so much.
So two things got to give. You either put multiple people into a class and you do group training and you maximize that, because if you're doing group training and you lower the cost, but you can put 30 people into a group and you can teach 5 of those a day. Well, yeah, man, you're teaching 100 people a day versus 10. right? And you can scale that, or you got to increase your price for the individual. I feel like those are your two major things. But it's hard to scale any further than that, and you get burnt out.
And growing your business means more money in marketing, more of your time, which can bring your income down. Flipping homes, man, did super well for a year and a half. Flip 15 homes successfully, and then get a little cocky, try growing too big, too fast, buy 4 homes at once, make bad decisions, and then, dude, I lost everything I had made. And here's the thing: over that first year and a half, I was trying to be good and smart and keep everything that I had made in the business.
Yeah.
So it's not like I had taken any money out. But man, I finally got to like a good financially successful place that I thought, fuck, man, universe kicked me in the ass. Lost my ass on 3 out of the 4 homes. 2 we broke even on. 2 we lost our ass on. I lost everything I had made, and then $70,000 in additional debt on top of that.
So
growing pains, man.
So Eli was responsible for the housing crash in 2008, and he went to jail. And but he ran. He gave it a good chase. He ran. He hid in his marijuana dispensary. Jeez. And that was back when I was a cop, and I found him. He had a warrant. I was able to find him and put him in.
People
but
are gonna think I'm like some
I like
piece
the
of
guy.
shit. Like, oh, so Eli lost a ton of money, ran from the cops.
So when I was done being a cop,
tried selling weed.
I called him back up. I go, hey man, you still doing crooked shit? And nah man, I've been going to church. I'm born again. I'm in the water. I'm drinking it. And I'm like, all right, hey, cool, man. Like, I'm not a cop anymore. And we got together.
It's a good story.
I wish it were true. It's a great story. No, it's true. Let's talk about, I'm going to let you start off first. We'll see how brutal you hit me with this. And that'll dictate my answer a little. Maybe it'll dictate my delivery.
Okay.
Growing pains with a partner. So there's a lot of benefit to a partner, right? I fall back to the whole, you can let yourself down. You got to be a sorry motherfucker to let someone else down kind of thing, right? But you get a lot of motivation, and when camaraderie is forged in adversity. Okay, so you can take that however you want. You can apply it to combat. You can apply it to whatever it may be. A family member that went through abuse with you, or on a lighter note, you can apply that to business partners that both have skin in the game, that are both going from the ground up, trusting one another to grow a company together, right? Like a business together. Yep. So a lot of that camaraderie, it's forged in the adversity of like, your bullshit's my bullshit, and my bullshit's your bullshit. Kevin Hart, right? Like, it's funny, but it's true, and I like that. I like it because it all the bad is worth the good. But let's talk about some of the growing pains as far as picking a partner. And then once you've got a rock solid partner, maybe, whatever it may be, growing pains there.
Dude, I think, because I've had a partner before, and
you're not a virgin?
No.
Oh, you asshole. And what was all that? I never do this talk.
And dude, with him, man, what's something that's different between,
Can you at least say you're sorry with me thinking you were a virgin? Like, you just passed right over, you little slut.
If I led you to believe that I was a virgin, I do apologize.
I appreciate that.
I do apologize for that. But for him, him and I got along great.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean we're good business partners, man, because we didn't push against each other when I feel like we should have been pushing against each other.
Yeah.
And that's something that you and I think are really good at, man, and doing it from a respectful way. And just that communication. And that's where I look at us a lot like family, because as far as I'm concerned, I married you. We're not going anywhere. We're in this for life. We're in this for life, which means when you make that kind of commitment to yourself and to a partner, that means you don't have another option but to work your shit out.
Burn the ships.
Yeah. But I also think, like, you have to be picky with that person. You have to have high expectations, and hold out for that person as well. I knew 2 weeks after meeting with you, I knew first day I worked with you, I knew you were something different. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm watching him, and then because there's something different there. Like,
dude, I always love when he articulates it, because I know he means well.
Yeah.
And he's like, I knew you're different.
Yeah.
I'm
dude.
Different. Yeah, I'm different.
But, and that kind of like, I had my eyes on you a little bit, but then 2 weeks after working with you, I'm like, okay, like, I have to be in business with this person.
Yeah, likewise.
It was kind of like that love at first sight sort of thing.
I did
as
think
funny as that sounds.
I did think you were the Jewish version of Tim Tebow.
Oh, dude, that's
virgin,
the best description I've ever heard, man.
Fit, virgin, pure, kind. I'm like, he's my virgin Tim Tebow. He's my Jewish Tim Tebow, and I'm gonna get in there. It's gonna take a little while. We'll be married first, but then I'm gonna knock his socks off. No, apparently he's a little business slut. Didn't even know about it.
That's funny.
Dirty boy.
Jewish Tim Tebow. That's great.
I'm just glad you know who he was.
I feel like putting that in my Instagram bio now.
Yeah, and then let's go back to that first point, because here's the deal too. With business or with a business partner, you got to give that time to grow too. Like you and I, I can't remember how long it was, but we felt super confident. We felt pretty good. We felt pretty good before we actually started doing video together.
Yeah.
As in signing off on each other, as in like, hey, we started committing to like a Friday video once a week and doing that. And like, look, that's a big commitment, right? Like one, you're giving out, you're documenting what's working and not working for you and all that cool stuff. But more importantly, you're putting yourself into a public platform with someone signing off on them. Like you should probably make sure you're on good terms with them and that they mean well and that they're in it for the right reasons and good reasons, good intentions, like you are for yourself. I think that's what was most important for me was I knew we were different enough where we brought different qualities to the table. But I also knew like, hey, man, I sign off on this guy. Like I'm okay to go into my social media and put someone on there and feel like I'm not going to get fooled. And again, there's a lot of passiveness on social media, right? Like you can go from company to company to company. Like dude in fitness, right? When I was with that fitness company and we were growing that, dude had so many influencers per se that were just hopping from brand to brand to brand, right? I know Fat's kind of, are you smirking over there? He knows. So Fat did a lot of videography for some of those folks, and no one specific I'm speaking of, by the way, but they would just go from brand to brand to brand, little brand whore. And everybody was like always so nice. Oh, hey, nice picture or whatever. But like in their head, like we heard the comments behind the scenes like, oh yeah, she does this, she does that. And then eventually you stop getting signed. Whether you're getting confronted directly or not, being that way affects your personal brand. So whether it's you jumping from brand to brand or business partner to business partner to business partner or industry to industry to industry. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't change business partners. I'm not saying that you shouldn't change industries. I'm not saying that if one brand doesn't work out for you as an influencer, that you shouldn't change brands. I agreed. However, like you should give some time and privacy to make sure that they're the right one. Because here's the deal. If you got to go through 6 different sponsorships, right? Companies. If you got to go through 6 different industries, if you got to go through 6 different companies for who you work for in the same industry before you find the right one, between 1 and 5, do your best to get those other 3 or 4 out of the way behind the scenes.
Right.
That way, maybe they see one transition. You know what I mean? Because you just don't want to tarnish your own word, or your own just respect to your own respect to your own integrity.
Right.
As far as like what you're showing people. Yeah. I think that matters, man.
Yeah.
I think it matters.
Dude, and how do you, as businesses are growing and as you're going through these growing pains, how do you stay positive and keep moving forward and not let those growing pains hold you up or make you quit or take steps back?
Oh, that's a great question.
That's where I think the partnership helps a lot.
Yeah.
For me, it helps a lot.
Yeah. And I was talking to my boy Manny. Manny's one of the guys for Bastards. I've mentioned them. They're some cool motherfuckers, man. If you ever go to California, they got some bar and grills out there, some canteens, and it's veteran owned. They do a bunch of veteran celebrations, and they were in the Marine Corps with me. And Manny was an instructor with me. Cool cat, man. Just a suit, but he works hard. We were talking today about that specifically. And I was like, dude, beyond all the SOCOM shit, all that bullshit, and I say it all the time and it's true. You know what I loved about being in the infantry? Loved about being a grunt is it's not so much about, like, it's good to be coordinated. It's good to be athletic in the Marine Corps. It fucking helps. It's good to be conditioned and you're going to do CrossFit or, whatever it is. It's good to have all those. But here's the deal, man. Some of those, like going through squad leaders course, dude, it was brutal. Like the hikes, the ruck runs with your gear on. Dude, there's no athletic ability that's getting you through it. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Bro, but it's like, dude, I wrote this down. Don't be a bitch. But listen, for all you bitches out there listening, getting all fucking mad right now, hold on. Don't be a bitch. And just give me a minute to explain. Right? Just give me a minute. Just put the bitch aside. Just give me a minute, please. It's a powerful term. We used to say it in the Marine Corps a lot, but like when you're going through squad leaders course, man. So for example, even just like School of Infantry, man, right? Like you're going on these ruck runs. So you have like your gear, your bag on your back, and hikes, you got 85 to 100 pounds on your back. Okay. When we do like 7-8 mile ruck runs, it's a lighter pack. It's probably a 20-pound pack, more of like a backpack style, and you got your weapons, but you always bring your weapons, man, everywhere you go. And those weapons have to go start to finish. So if someone starts, with the 240, they can pass it to someone else during those 7 miles. It's going to get passed a lot, and that's okay. And a lot of times we'd be running, like you'd run 2 miles, and then we do, like a station where we're doing a ton of push-ups or flutter kicks or sit-ups. And then, so it's kind of giving you a break from the run, but then you're doing some muscle stuff, whatever you want to call it. Not calisthenics, but calisthenics. Yeah. Oh, right on.
Body weight.
And then you get back and you run it. So when in that transition of like doing push-ups or doing, doing buddy squats or whatever it was, someone else would pick up that 240 or some of the mortars and things like that, and then someone else would run with it. Dude, it's just heavy. It fucking sucks, but it's like everybody else is doing this. When you talk about partnership, I agree.
Right.
And it's like when you got Marines in your squad, it's like, look, man, everybody else is doing it too. Don't be a little bitch, okay? Grab your nuts, keep fucking going, right? Like, and on top of that, when I say there's no athletic ability, like sometimes, man, you start running, like you don't have some special harness to place the backpack on your back that like displaces the weight properly. And then, no, dude, you throw it on, and then whoever had the barrel to the spare machine gun, you're carrying it now, but the strap is too long, but you throw it on because you're in a hurry. And now the bag's draping down super low and it's banging in the fucking knee while you're running. And you're like, hey, bro, when we get back, I'm going to beat the shit out of you with my swollen knee right in your fucking face, asshole. Yeah. But you've already started, and you're too tired. Like, you're not going to stop running and let a quarter mile go by because you're adjusting that strap. Yep. Just don't be a bitch. Yep. Your knee's going to be okay. All right? And then just finish. But it's all grit, man. It's all getting through it. And here's the deal. Some guys don't carry the same weight. Some guys don't take initiative to grab that barrel. Don't take initiative to grab the 240. Don't take initiative to grab the mortar. And, we're all a team. So there's guys that get told, hey, pick that up, and then they'll pick it up. But they're not looking for where they're at in the rotation, and they're not volunteering for it. And then you got guys that are taking the initiative, and they're like, hey, you tired? Give me the barrel. Hey, give me that. They're taking the initiative to grab it because they're testing themselves.
Right.
Those are bad motherfuckers.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Maybe no one says a word, but the guy that like carried shit half as much as everyone else, look, dude.
Everyone knows.
And you're not getting invited for a beer later. Everyone like guys aren't going to want to hang out. You're like, hey, you're being a little bitch. And when you're training like that and you're training for guys to be prepared in combat, it's like, hey, where's your line of letting someone down? Like, oh, you're tired a little bit right now and you don't want to grab that machine gun? Bitch. What are you going to do if we go overseas? What are you going to do, man? Right? Like, that's important. So I think when you talk about just gutting it out with entrepreneurship and just where does that come from? It comes from just the pride of the respect amongst my peers that I was never that bitch. Yeah. Right? Here's the deal in the Marine Corps too, man. You're never the best. There's just so much competition. There's so many things to get done. You're never going to be the best at every single little thing. And that's okay too, man. We're all a team, but you're not going to finish every run first and whatever it may be, but respect amongst your peers of just something as simple as a run, swim, run. Right? You're running 7 miles, you swim a certain amount of time at the pool, you put your stuff in, and you run 7 miles back. And then while you're doing that, you got your weapons to carry. Just that one activity that took a couple of hours in the morning for your morning PT, your morning physical training, right? Just that right there commands so much respect when you do it right amongst your peers that you're not a fucking bitch, man. So now, like when I'm counting on you or you're counting on me, and then we've got a team of people that are counting on us to help them grow business, and we hold them accountable, and there's things that they have to do for their business. But at the same time, what are we just going to cop out? We're just going to not help them?
Right.
We're just going to not help them because it's late at night, or I'm just going to not work as hard because I'm tired one day and I just need a break, even though there's things to get done. Like, you need a break, that's cool, but wait for there to be a break in the mix before you do that. And I was talking today with Manny about that, and we we're kind of laughing back and forth, but it's true. And this is why it's so fun to see those guys at Bastards, and I'm sure there's plenty across America, but dude, this is why a lot of times like your Marine Corps boys or whatnot can be super, super successful at entrepreneurship, because look, man, we've already been at the worst of it. These guys in California, they wake up every day not getting shot at. I mean, they're close to South Central LA, right? But they're in they're in LA County, So, but here's the deal: like they wake up, man, out of a bed.
Yep.
And they wake up not getting shot at.
Yep.
And they wake up with their family, right? And they wake up and they're gonna go do what they love every day with growing that bar. Dude, they don't care about the grit, man. They don't care about embracing the suck and just taking time to grow because of their perspective. So I think that's super huge for me too. I think that's a huge thing. But, I was also talking to him about you because it's like, well, hey, those are all Marine bubbas, man, getting it in and fucking doing their thing. But you and I, like, you're a civilian, right? Like, I did, full disclosure, I made a couple of jokes. What can you do? But I did tell him, like, man, here's what's fun about, like Eli and I was like, not only does he carry the same values and same work ethic because you're just a born entrepreneur. That's just in your blood, man. But at the same time, I feel like growing a company with you validates me in the civilian world because I'm not just this guy like shoot my mouth off telling like corporate America how to be and here's how we did it in the core. Like, fuck off, dude.
Right.
But we've actually built something, like you and I have collaborated. And we've built something within civilian world, and it's working. And it's successful. So I think to another layer, it validates me.
It does, and that's the value of having a good partner, man. And I think when people are choosing a partner, one of the worst things that I think you could do is choose a partner based off of their track record or the tangible things that they bring to the table. Like if you're choosing a partner based off of how much money they have or what companies they've started before, I think you're already fucked. That's like choosing a wife because her dad is rich and she's from a certain town.
Ugh.
You have to be in love with the person, and then if you're in love with that person, they're gonna have a certain amount of value that they bring, that's gonna be beneficial to you. But I think it's a combination of kind of both those things. And with you and I, like validating each other, like when you build your personal brand the way that you have, and people know what your expectations are, people know how you do business, people know the level of accountability that you apply to all areas of your life, that validates me as well.
100%. No, both. But it's always just gonna fall down to that process. But what I really enjoy about like working with you too, man, is as much as I love the Marine Corps and as much as I love law enforcement and a lot of those processes, and as much as I love the experiences that I gain from them, I also love that you're not a veteran, right? Because it's like, hey, again, when we go back to talking about what we can talk about, right? Staying in your lane and speaking to what you can within your perspective. Well, dude, I'm a Marine. Dude, I'm a cop. Dude, I did government work. Like, that's my shit, man. Like, that's what I have to kind of fall back. That's where, and it's not like these lessons don't apply to everyone. When we talk leadership and brand building and all that, it applies to everyone. But my perspective and my hard work, it's coming from my experiences, right? But what's fun, and what's enlightening is that having a civilian business partner, it does just validate that, like, hey, if you like our content, man, I appreciate that so much, but please don't like our content and let it be, or don't like my side of the content and let it be nostalgic or something that's cool, but then it's unrelatable because you're not a Marine.
Right.
And having a civilian, shit, not even just one, like Fat's over here doing his thing. We're all fucking partners, man. He fucking deals with us more than anyone. Civilian. Not only is he a civilian, he's in the heart of the millennial generation. Like, golly, right? Talk about stereotypes, but what I like about that is it does show people like, hey, you can like this content, you can enjoy everything we have to say, but it's not unrelatable. It's not out of reach. It's not, of course you don't quit, man. You did this. And you're like, no, dude, not true. I was a shitty swimmer before boot camp. My mom was a hippie. I never shot a rifle before boot camp. You know what I mean? Like, dude, she didn't even let me have squirt guns. She embarrassed me in 5th grade because she said Lion King was premeditated murder.
That's awesome.
Right when I was just starting to like chicks.
That's awesome.
There's a couple of Hispanic chicks in the class. One was Anna.
And you had to leave the classroom when they watched
like,
Lion King.
How you doing? How you doing? Well, I'm like, oh, hey, I'm good. And here comes my mom. Right? Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
But I learned how hard I could work at something and the confidence that it brews. So for me, the number one thing I take away from the Marine Corps was that a lot of the things that I was best at were new to me. Right? A lot of the awards that I've gotten in shooting and all that crap, man, like, I'd never done it until I actually showed up at boot camp. So one, it shows proven process within the Marine Corps, that they have a process on how to teach. And if you don't let your bad habits, or if you don't have any bad habits, if you don't let that interfere, if you come in here and you apply yourself and compartmentalize and work hard at it, they've got a phenomenal system at creating fighters. Period. Right. So there's credit to that, but then also you can give credit to yourself of actually how hard you can work at something before you give it up or say, this doesn't work. Like, does it? Oh, you can't lose the weight? Oh, you're trying? Are you? Or look, are you being a little bitch? Right? Like, and I'm being funny with don't be a bitch, right? Like, but it's true. So now when we come into our process, man, the number one thing I try to give to our team, especially like the newer agents that are on our team that are now crushing, by the way, multiple deals under contract at the same time, they're awesome. Yeah. But what's fun is like, hey, you don't need to be good at this when you get here. I just need you to apply what we're doing. Dude, you know what I mean? I would almost rather have new agents than ones with bad habits. It's like, just don't be afraid. And the fact that a fitness guy like you and like a knucklehead like me, all tatted up and kind of buff, has 80% of a team that is like soccer moms with 2 guys. Everyone else is female.
2 guys like us.
Yeah, and they're kind of...
you mean the 2 guys on the team.
Not 2 guys. They're like us because they're outies. No. Right? Not innies. Yeah. But the rest of the team is all innies and outies, boys and girls.
Gotcha. Yeah.
They're like us because they have weenies.
Right. Yeah,
but they're not like us.
I got you.
Brandon is a little bit. He's got a hustler. Wyatt's, he's got some of us in him too. Wyatt's got a cool style. Shout out to Wyatt, Brandon. You guys are good dudes. But the rest of the team is female. And a lot of them are moms, right? And like, dude, they're little killers. They're fucking, they're thinkers, and they're applying fundamentals and what we're talking about. They're little assassins out there doing a great fucking job. But again, I feel like a lot of the trust and a lot of the the trust that we get from them or anyone else, the fact that you and I did it first and I did it with someone that's a civilian, not just me, it just validates the process and it eliminates them having an excuse. Because if you have been alongside of me and we've done it, where's your excuse that, oh, well, of course you're brave or confident, and like, oh, of course you're this. Like, no, dude, one, I have a lot of my own insecurities and my own difficulties I had to overcome, but you're never going to hear them unless you are here long enough to let me open up to you. But I think a lot of the reason why they're around is because you're on that other side of the business model.
Well, and for me, dude, like, I was bad at everything. It's rare if I'm a natural at anything.
You weren't bad at whoring yourself out to business partners. But that's gonna be my thing for like a month.
I had one business partner.
I know. One time I was drunk. I was on a cruise. I get it.
But good. Dude, I was not natural at anything, man. Any sport that I tried, I was clumsy. I was not good at it. Drumming was really the first thing that I stuck with long enough to become good at it.
Drumming.
And then, drum set drumming. Yeah, musical drumming, right?
I'm giving you a shout out. Eli was in a band.
I was, yeah.
He was a Sex Panther.
No. But that was really the first thing. And once
before you go any further, hold on a minute, man. I don't like how you do that. You're just passing stuff. I'm throwing you an alley-oop. Here's the deal. I love the story of the homeschool kid that's just super kind and internal that ends up being in a rock band.
That's actually when I started
all
playing.
Things. Yeah. Shirtless, beating them drums up. Dude,
I was shirtless.
That shit is so cool. Yeah, you're shredded.
We'll find some footage sometime.
Super cool.
But just being bad at shit, man. And that's when I learned, like, hey, if you just do something long enough, you'll get good at it. If you like it and you do it long enough and apply things that you learn and be resourceful and try and learn shit, like you have to actually be like teaching yourself and educating yourself as you go along, you can get good at things. And then, I think when I learned how to learn per se, dude, it was like game over after that. And I'm like, I don't care how bad I am at something. I know if I learn it, educate myself, and apply it, I'll get good at it. So
I agree.
With growing pains, man, that's something that, brings me a ton of peace of mind because I expect to be bad at things when I first start. And I expect to get better at them when I apply what I learn.
Because you've gotten better at some things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's where mine is like twofold, right? Mine is binary, Gary V. Mine's binary, my opinion. One, I think you're right. There's one aspect of if you actually apply yourself to your full potential, not to where it's not pleasurable, not to where, oh, I'm tired today, or no, I don't feel like it. Fuck that. Okay? If you actually just dig deep and apply yourself for a duration of time consistently, you can become extremely proficient at some things, correct? Yep. Agreed. Here's the other twofold, okay? The other half of this is whatever industry you're in, most people don't do that. Most people are half-assing it, faking it until they're whatever. Like, dude, real estate. Okay, like the average realtor doing 5 deals a year. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Okay, the top 20% starting at like 20. Now, that was a year and a half ago when those stats were out. If it's different now, if it's a couple to the left or to the right, I get it. That's fine. But the biggest thing is, one aspect, you've got a lot more in you than you think. Second aspect, most people aren't going to do that, which means you're going to be that much better.
Right.
Because you chose to do that versus everyone else that just kind of gets by and they put an adequate amount of effort towards something and they're not phenomenal at it. Mm-hmm. They kind of get by. You're going to surpass them.
Yep.
And you don't necessarily have to like be amazing at it to be above them.
Right.
And that's going to give you some momentum to keep pushing. And that's no disrespect to anyone. I'm not thinking of anyone specifically, but dude, I get super mad when we have people in an industry like ours that want to part-time it, barely do it, and, oh, hey, I'll just do a couple deals here and there. Like, I get it, and I know your intentions are good. Not everyone, but I understand that people have good intentions. But being in this full-time and understanding everyone's emotional process through selling and buying and their personal situations of divorce or having a kiddo and just their life going on while they're doing this. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of managing, of just managing people's emotions and just being that resource and helping them. And I think that's where my police work kind of comes into play with that. But it's hard, and this is on me because it's emotional. It's an emotional response, and that means I have control of it. But so that's on me. But it's hard not to have a little bit of animosity for people that don't take this industry serious and they expect someone to trust them with the biggest purchase of their life or biggest sell and buys. I don't care if you're 10 houses in. Yeah. Usually, whatever you're currently buying is the most expensive purchase of your life. Mm-hmm. And you barely do it, right? But you expect people to trust you or you expect people to pay you your full price. Fuck, man.
Yeah.
Like, I have a big problem with that. So, in industries like that, if you actually dive in and apply yourself 100% consistently for a duration of time, man, you're going to surpass a lot of people. Maybe you're never the greatest realtor to ever live. Okay. I don't even know if you want to aspire to be that. I don't know if they have a measurement for that.
Right.
But you're going to be real damn good. And if you're real damn good, you're going to be pretty damn successful. One, because you worked at it. Secondly, because others won't. Mm-hmm. And that's a big thing, man.
It is.
And that's what was fun in the Marine Corps. Like when you're even to basic stuff, man, going through boot camp, going through School of Infantry, getting to your first unit, like a lot of it, don't get me wrong, man, like you athletic and endurance, it applies. Don't get me wrong, but the majority was like, just don't quit.
Dude, fuck.
Just don't quit.
Dude, just don't quit, man. Like, I'm so glad you said that.
Don't be a bitch.
I'm so glad you said that.
And you know what Marines do to you?
What?
They'll call you a bitch.
Yeah.
Hey, don't be a bitch. Like, it's that simple.
It probably helps.
But it means so much. But here's the deal. Camaraderie is force and adversity. So when you got those guys that are also, when you got guys in the suck with you telling you just not be a bitch, they're not on the sidelines. This is different.
Can't argue with that.
This is not a Monday morning quarterback trying to tell you what you should have done. And these are guys that are in it with you saying, hey, man, you're letting the team down. Get up. Mm-hmm. But that right there, dude, it teaches you that you actually have a lot more in you than you realize. And sometimes you break. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're going to mentally break. You're going to have that moment or whatever. And when those guys are there, they're like, don't be a bitch. It's like, take your skirt off or take whatever. Stop being dramatic. Get up. And it's like, it's just so simple, but means so much. But the context of they're in it with you is huge. So I think that's why you and I thrive, is a partnership is good. And if you ever tell me one day not be a bitch, you can kind of speak to it because you're doing this with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it matters.
Well, dude, and once people get the basic fundamental understanding of, like what you just said, like, just don't quit. You do this long enough, you apply yourself, you're consistent over time, you will be successful. Dude, the confidence that comes with that, man, like, that makes running a business fun every single day. That makes doing this podcast with you fun every single day. Not once is there ever a doubt of will we be successful or not.
When?
Because
it's a matter of when.
Dude, I just know it's going to happen. A plus B equals C. If you do this, if you don't quit, you apply yourself, you do a good job consistently over time, it's going to happen.
And look, this is not just specific to real estate. And I mean, for you and I, Like I was entrepreneurial, right? Like with
entrepreneurial.
Fuck did I just say? Entrepreneurial.
Curriculum.
Right? Fucking Jesus, dude, I cannot say that word. If I had to save your life and like, okay, say curriculum and Eli lives, I'll be like, hey, bro, I'm gonna make sure your son's okay. and your wife, I'll introduce her to Lamar. He's a nice guy. It's all good, dude.
Lamar. You have to have him on the podcast sometime.
Oh man, what the fuck was I even gonna say?
Entrepreneur. I don't know.
Entrepreneurial, like I did stuff with a fitness company. Yeah. Prior to this, and like you've done stuff prior to real estate. So when we talk about not quitting, I don't mean don't quit real estate or don't quit the first thing that you try. I'm not saying that. I'm saying like whatever your adventure is and wherever life is taking you and whatever opportunities present themselves, great, like attack it. And if you tried something a ton for a duration of time and you felt like you've turned that stone and you suck at it, or maybe you don't suck at it, but you hate it and you've done it long enough to rate answering that, move on into something different. We're just talking about quitting overall. And whether you're trying one thing or you've tried 6 things in your life, when did that time come? Because you were gaffing it off? Are you quitting because it's not working, but did you put the work in? Or does it suck because you didn't put the work in? Right. This is where you've got to answer these things with yourself. This is where your own personal integrity really, really, really comes into play, man. And it's super important. So it's not, just as a disclaimer out there, it's not, staying with the one company or the one industry or whatever it may be. It's just keep turning stones until you find something that you like, that you're also good at, and then push it. And then and then once you find that, keep at it, become resourceful, put some good people around you, and then after that, start documenting what you're doing and build that brand.
One last thing I want to touch on, dude. What keeps me going, what keeps me going to the gym every day, what keeps me doing the podcast and our business is, for me, one of my prerequisites.
We're like fucking some words up today.
Prerequisites for going into business or taking on a new venture is I have to have fun doing it, man. I have to have fun.
Perspective, right? Like you don't want to work for anyone.
Yeah, well, and to me, that's having fun. So what?
No, that's what I mean. Is like so you're right. So having fun is one side of the coin. What I mean is the other side of the coin is a perspective. So remember when I was talking about bastards? I'm like, hey man, listen, these awesome dudes, these awesome guys, they wake up not getting shot at. They wake up with their families. They wake up running a bar called Bastards because 2-4, that unit, they're called the Glorious Bastards. Yeah. They named the canteens after their unit. Cool. And now Marines come and have a place to be a Marine. And other veterans are welcome as where too. And law enforcement is welcome as where too. And Downey, that city's accepted them, man, and it's awesome. So they get all of that. They take all of like the hardships or the obstacles or whatever it may be because of their perspective of what they get to do. So this is not a combat conversation. This is fucking Eli hates to work for someone. He's tried it. He hates it. So having fun, but having and remembering the perspective of I could always be worse. I could always go back and clock in and clock out and have a fucking boss. Dude, that perspective will keep you pushing forward.
And by having fun, I don't mean having like a jolly good time all the time. By having fun, I mean like being around people, like you said, that you want to struggle, that you want to grind with. We can make jokes, we play music, but we get our fucking shit done. My advice for people that are just starting off going to the gym, forget the results. Forget trying to lose 100 pounds this year. Start taking some supplements. Find a pre-workout you like. Find some music that you like, and just get in the state of enjoying, putting on the radio, putting on your headphones, getting to the gym, and just feeling the pump, just having fun, man. You fall in love with just the process of doing something. Right. The result will come.
So what you're kind of saying is like, go dabble in it too. Like, hey, before you get too structured in the gym, go realize how cool yoga pants are.
Well, bro, here's the thing.
No, hey, comment
on that. Results are hard. The gym is hard. If you're so focused on losing 100 pounds,
just get in there and have a good time and kind of see how machines work and just go see what it's all about first, right?
Well, that's going to keep you going. If you're having fun, that's going to keep you going. And then a year's going to pass and you'll be like, holy fuck, I lost 100 pounds.
Well, right. We've talked about it. We had a gentleman in our FitWorks program that we're doing, with realtors and lenders. And it was like, dude, I got 100 pounds. He literally said that. I have 100 pounds to lose, man. Like, I don't even know it. And I'm like, listen, man, have you ever done a diet before or exercise? He's like, yeah, man, a little bit. And I'm like, have you ever lost 5 pounds? He's like, yeah. I go, great. Listen, man, we are not losing 100 pounds. We're going to lose 5 pounds 20 times. Okay. And that process is going to change as you get lower and lower and lower, as you lose more and more and more. Sometimes it's a little hard to lose in the first 40 pounds, but we're going to cross that bridge when we get there, because once you've lost 40 pounds, your perspective is different. Yeah. Your knowledge is different, right? Like your efforts are different. Like we'll cross that bridge when we get there, when we've lost that first 40. But for now, hey, listen, man, we're going to lose 5 pounds 20 times.
Great way to look at it.
Right. And just get in there and dabble with it and realize how cool yoga pants
dude,
are.
that's the,
I remember the first.
Yeah, bro.
Fuck yeah, bro. I remember the first time I saw you in him. I was like, what do I call Eli's butt?
Me in him?
I call Eli's butt Mississippi.
You're the one
blood.
that wears tights.
I'm
man.
like, hey.
I never wear tights.
Hey, come here. Where'd you get that Mississippi blood over there? Look at that thing. Look at that.
Oh, that's
Look at those buns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet Hawaiian buns.
And here's the thing, dude. If you hate going to the gym, if you hate the people at the gym, if you're just not having fun, you're not going to go.
But, and you know what? Here's the deal. There's some not nice people at the gym per se. Maybe. I've never seen someone lash out at someone in the gym. Not that I'm saying it doesn't happen. But more times than not, if you're fat or if you're whatever and you're nervous about going to the gym or this or that or whatever it may be, believe it or not, when you go, people actually compliment you. Hey, man, I've seen you in here for 6 months. Yep. I'm impressed, man. Keep up the good. Or, hey, man, I've seen you in here for a month. And I've seen, not just me, I've seen other people like at the gym that I go to compliment people that have lost 10 pounds. Hey, you've been in here for a couple weeks. Great job. People are actually a lot more open and respectful than you think, because some of them have been through it themselves.
Because they know what it takes, just like in business, man. 100%. Just like in business.
So our biggest thing, I know we're getting a little long-winded today. I think our biggest thing is, if you're going to be building your personal brands, whatever you're going to be building that within, find that, but give yourself some time to build it, figure out who you are in it, make sure you're successful and you're having fun in it and you're going to be around for a little while. That way you can speak to it. Secondly, be resourceful. Put a partner around you. Put other people around you that can support what you're doing, that can help you bring that to scale. And then thirdly, document it. Don't get fancy. Don't be romantic how you make your money. Just document everything that you're doing. Stay within your scope. Document what's working for you. And stay within that lane of perspective so you can help as many people as you can that have maybe a similar approach or think that they might have a similar approach to you. And then just fucking rock out and have a good time and keep working hard, man. Just don't quit.
Yep. Just don't quit.
Happy Friday.
I like it. Happy Friday, guys.
Love you.
Thanks for watching. Love you too.
I forgive you.
Love you too, fat. Thank you.
Word.